You're listening to the Outdoors Group podcast. This podcast is a call to arms to get children and young people outside again. It's your one-stop shop for all things outdoor, child, young person and education related. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're delighted to be joined by one of our senior leaders at the Outdoors Group, Nigel Stanley. Nigel's the head of our alternative outdoor provision and came to us earlier this year with a wealth of experience, especially in outdoor learning, sports, vocational and further education sectors. He's joining us today to talk about the recent rebranding that this area of the business has undergone, what this provision offers and the exciting expansion plans that he's heading up. Thanks for joining us today, Nigel.
That's all right, pleasure.
So reckon the best thing to start with is by asking you to explain exactly what our alternative outdoor provision, or AOP, is. So how does it work, who does it work with, and what's your kind of goal or purpose with it?
I think our AOP provision is focused on neurodiverse children, maybe on a one-to-one basis or a two-to-one, who come into the woods in a woodland setting, and we look at delivering alternative curriculum to. That could be based around forest school, or it just could be working on set goals that they want to achieve, as well, just about integrating them back into society a bit more, but also back into their community and maybe hopefully back into their school.
Nice.
As well, or even onto TOS school as well. The outdoor school, here with us as well. So it's about setting their goals, setting their targets and working towards what there might be their aspirational goals as well. And that, like I say, that is in a woodland based setting, but then we can look to deliver other type of provision within that as well.
And how many sites has AOP got at the moment, or how many sites do you work from?
We just opened, recently over the last few months, we've opened 2 new sites, one down at Camwoods in Plimpton and one at Honiton. Other than that, we've got Dawlish Water, one at Newton Poppleford, just outside Sidmouth, and Escott as well.
Nice.
So about
quite a few.
7 sites now. So
Yeah, and one. Do you still use one at Wellington as well sometimes?
No. Well, sometimes we've still got one at Wellington, and also one at Tiverton as well. But the moment the demand's not there for them, so they're just sat there waiting. But within a few weeks we can have them up and running.
Nice. And how do the learners come to us? Is it through the school or through the parents?
Could be a mixture. It could be through the school, could be through Devon County Council, it could be parents as well who get referred. They would then, we'd look at their paperwork and then we'd invite them in if we think it's appropriate for a site visit. So they could cut the learner comes, but also with parents or the school member. They'd come and do a site visit for an hour or 2 hours, do some little activities with the key worker. And then after that, we would then write a report, and then between us, we decide whether it's an appropriate provision for that learner. If it is, then we invite them to come back 1 day, 2 days, 3 days a week to continue working on some of the skills they need to work on.
Nice.
As well, yeah.
And what was I going to say? The children that are struggling in their main educational setting or whatever their setting is, that's why they're coming to us.
Yeah, and it could be a mixture of reasons why they're struggling. It could be group work, could just be their self-esteem, self-motivation or their behaviour. Yeah. So again, they would come to us, we'd work with the parents, the school, to look at some key goals and targets we want to work with, and then we just work on them, breaking them down into more detail and doing activities which hopefully helps develop those skills and transferable skills in those areas, and then review them however often we need to. It could be termly, it could be half termly, it could be weekly for some learners, and then we can start tweaking the goals and changing them if necessary.
And a lot of the activities are forest school based, right?
Yes, they are. However, on the horizon we want to start introducing some more sort of outdoorsy activities as well for some of the learners, and also art. We're introducing at the moment art and craft as well, so creative arts as well. So for some learners that might suit them better as well. So it's making sure we've got a range of skills within our staff as well. So we've got 2 new members of staff who have joined us with sort of creative art background.
Amazing.
One's got outdoor background, one's more sort of like arts, drawing and sketching and stuff. So we're looking to develop skills around that. They're doing some work with some learners, which we'll then do some staff training for other staff to develop some skills as well. And then it might, like I say, it will attract some learners more than others doing the forest school. We've also got the forest school book, which Forest School and Training have put together. Nick in his area, they've put together a forest school training book which we're working through as well, about fire lighting, cooking and things like that.
I was just about to say about cooking, because I don't know why I associate it with AOP, but they seem to always make the most amazing foods and do a lot of cooking.
They do really well. I was on site on Exmouth last week, and Ewan was cooking some lovely stuff up over the fire with the learner as well, which was great to see, and it smelled lovely as well. So there's that as well. And again, for some learners, that's really what they need to be doing and developing. That's great. And then out of those we can then start developing other transferable skills as well. Not just about the cooking, it could be nutrition, it could be lots of other things we're developing for the learners, and talking about what food's good for you,
and where it comes from.
Exactly. So there's a whole load of work we can do.
Amazing.
As well.
Awesome. And so, I mean, obviously it sounds really clear that a typical session, that no 2 days look the same. So like, I was going to say, can you tell me what a typical session looks like? But I know you won't be able to say exactly, but like kind of roughly what could someone expect?
Yeah, I think it is a roughly, because it can, with the learners we're working with, sometimes they might not be in the right mindset, they might not have slept very well the night before, so their behaviour might have changed when they come back onto site the next day, or it might be we need to recap on stuff, but usually it is they meet around the fire, have a check-in first of all, and it might be a check-in for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it might be a bit longer, but again it depends on the mood of the learner and how they're feeling. It could be the environment's affecting them, the weather as well, and then out of that then the staff will then start working with what we're going to work on today, or it might be continuing from the previous session they had. It could be about firelighting, it could be around den making. At the moment they're doing lots of sort of Christmassy kind of thing, making creative stuff as well. We've got clay on site, so they could be making clay models as well, so it does vary, and it also depends on how long they spend on a task. If the weather's not great, they might not go out and about in the woodland, they might stay under the tarp and around the fire more and they play games as well, so again it does vary.
It depends on where they're going, and I guess if it's cold they might be moving more to stay warm and stuff.
So, and also the staff, the key workers do have a rough schedule of what they'd like to do, but obviously it is very much learner led as well, and we try and encourage them as much as possible to take the lead on that as well and tell us what they'd like to work on. But it does relate back to we set 3 goals each time they come in as well, so it does relate back to those goals and targets.
3 goals every day?
No. So 3 goals when each term.
Each term.
They've got 3 goals. It could be more if they want, but we try and focus on 3 that we can then break down and develop in more detail as well. And then, like I say, we review them as and when. Could be weekly, could be termly as well, or if something changes at school or behaviour changes, then we might need to readapt what we do. So we're in close contact with parents and schools, so we send in daily reports and termly reports as well, so the schools can see what we're doing and they can feed back as well if there's any particular areas they would like us to try and focus on. But also what is good with the schools reading them, sometimes the schools pick up that the learner's done a certain particular thing, but they won't do that at the school. So then they talk to us about how maybe what we're doing to get that outcome, so then they can get that outcome in school as well. So it is very much a joined up approach.
And those goals, are the kids involved in setting those goals, or is it between like the...
No, the kids, the learners are involved in that as well, and then because they need to understand what they're learning towards as well. We don't hide anything.
What kind of goals? Can you give me an example of some like recent ones that you can think of?
Again, it could be a mixture. It just could be developing communication skills, awareness of what's around them, the environment. Could be safety stuff as well. Could be respect to other staff, and also because some learners, there might be two learners on site with 2 key workers as well. It doesn't mean they always work together, but they've got to respect that other learner when they come into the campfire area, or they might work on something together as well. So it could be a multitude of things as well. And again, like you said earlier about the cooking, it could be around what they want to cook, what they want to eat as well.
Amazing.
Playing games. It could be when they play the game, sometimes we're looking at literacy and numeracy as well, so we can subtly embed literacy and numeracy into what we're doing as well.
Amazing. That sounds awesome. And over the last, I've said 5 years, but possibly longer, I know that the rates of learners that have come to us and have then successfully transitioned back into their other educational setting, whether that's home or school, is been really quite impressively high. So what do you think is so unique about our intervention that kind of leads to this kind of high success rate?
I think a lot of it starts from the staff. The staff have got the skills and the knowledge and the passion to support the learners, and yes, the learners are coming onto site, but our ultimate aim isn't to keep them on site, it's to get them back into their appropriate environment, a suitable pace which suits them as well. So I think a lot of it is around our staff focusing on the learner focused curriculum, but also looking to get them introduced back into their community, or whether it's a school or whatever else they're going to as well, a suitable pace for them. And in a nice way, challenge it. Yes, it's learner led, but also challenging the learners as well to make sure they're getting something out of it as well. So
that they're growing.
And we're very much looking at reviewing as much as we can with the staff. Is the learner getting the most out of our sessions? And if they're not, then we can sit down with the school or the parents and go, look, how do we move forward from this?
How can we make things better?
So it's making sure we continue that cycle of reviewing, plan, do, review, but also review as much as possible and improve what we're doing. and also talking to the schools and the communities about where they're going back into, so making sure we've got the right stepping stones.
Yeah.
And I guess it's going back to giving them the right transferable skills and the confidence that they can go back into the environment and do what they've just been doing with us, but in a school setting.
Environment. Yeah.
And also developing the strategies for that learner to cope. So if they're struggling with a particular thing, or someone's saying something to them, they know they've got some coping strategies to be able to deal with that as well, which they start to develop on their own.
Yeah.
As well.
Amazing.
So it's good.
Awesome. Yes, it sounds like communication's a really key thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've got great communication with everyone involved around that child.
Yes.
Which must.
And it's also for our staff as well. So we've got various skills and experience within our team as well. So staff can reach out to other members of staff saying, I'm struggling in this area, or our learners showing evidence of this, what do you think we should do?
Yeah.
Then we got Simo, who does a lot of play therapy and consultation that way, so he can then have a chat to staff about, well, why don't you try this and try that and see if it works. And then in our team meetings, we obviously don't go through names, but we can say we've done this with our learner and this worked really well, so other staff can pick bits up.
Yeah.
So we're always learning as staff as well. So
learning
it's not just the learners learning, with staff are always learning.
Amazing.
As well, and I think that's all part of the journey.
Yeah, and what part of the success? Yeah.
Yes, it helps and adds to that as well.
I don't know whether you've talked about it today, but you kind of mentioned it earlier because you said it depends on what state a learner's in when they come in. But we often talk at the Outdoors Group in general about kind of focusing on addressing people's social, emotional, mental health needs before we kind of start to think about anything academic. Why is it so important to build these skills before moving on to anything else? And how do we work on these kind of SEMH skills with our learners?
I think they're the building blocks, aren't they, for all of us?
Yeah.
It's not just our learners, for staff as well. So it's the building blocks to help them develop, to give them that concrete foundation, I suppose, for a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to build on other skills, because if we don't get that right, then all the other skills we're putting into that mix as well is going to be overwhelming and not be productive.
Yeah.
As well, and I guess it goes back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need to develop that, be able to build on to the next step.
Yeah. Yeah.
As well.
How do we kind of do that in our sessions with the learners? How do we help them with those needs?
Again, it's going back to communication, having an open rapport with them and being consistent.
Yeah.
So we try and have we do have the same member of staff working with that learner.
Yeah.
To a certain point, it might be that they change after a term or something to bring in a fresh pair of eyes. But otherwise, it's having that consistent approach with that learner as well. So that learner builds up that trust and that respect with their key worker and vice versa.
Relationship,
and they feel that they can start talking to that member of staff as well.
Yeah.
And I think that is a lot of it as well.
Yeah. Amazing.
I think, does that kind of answer that?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think that people have talked about that before, that kind of importance of the child being able to build a connection with the person that they're working with.
Because I think that works both ways, because then staff pick up, oh, they haven't done this today, or this is happening, or this behaviour's changed, so they can start to recognise it. Again, it might be nothing, but it's also something they can pick up and monitor as well, which we do, and then if need be, we can speak to parents and school about it. I
spoke to one of the tutors at the outdoor school, and he was saying that the benefit of being with the same learners for years on years was that they started to know each other really really intimately and really well, like you would family. So he said, but that was great because it meant that as soon as they came in for the day, they could be like, oh, I can tell that they've had a rough day, in a way that you wouldn't if it was a kid that you didn't work with very often.
And I think that does have its benefits, but also I think it does have limitations as well. So sometimes I think that from what I've observed, that learner might then get comfortable, and then they don't always then push themselves and challenge themselves. So I think sometimes it's beneficial for that learner in the right environment at the right time to bring in another member of staff, and it might be initially just on a 2-to-1 to start with, so their key worker still stays with them.
Yeah.
But also I think it's good to have another person coming in the mix as well with new dynamics as well for that learner as well, especially if when we look to transition them back into the school, because they're not always going to be with the same person. So I think it's good to change staff around. Makes sense. But obviously that's done very sensitively as well, and considering the learner's needs, so it might be a phased approach as well. And one thing we're looking to do at the moment is bring in more group work as well, so we're going to start to put groups of learners together on a phased approach as well to develop those skills. So I do think learners do get comfortable and they know how to get around staff sometimes, like your kids do with parents as well. So I think it's just monitoring that as well, and at the right time we bring a new member of staff in as well to challenge them.
And I guess it's completely
in a supportive way.
Yeah, And I guess it's a completely different thing if they're with a group of their peers versus whether it's just them and one adult.
Yeah.
Where there's more challenges to be faced there and more kind of compromises.
And I think it's also sometimes it helps out dynamics because sometimes personalities do clash, and after a while you sort of wear off or it improves. So it's doing that as well.
Sounds like it's a kind of a fluid thing, like ever changing. Yeah,
and I think that's by having our staff who are continue on that learning journey as well. We can then start moving them around sites and learners.
Yeah, amazing.
As well.
And I guess it just means that you're not getting stuck in like kind of a static place. It sounds like growth is kind of the goal. So
it is. It has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
help them move forward.
So we kind of mentioned that we mostly use a forest school approach for our provision, or have done thus far. But like forest school is kind of by its nature quite an unstructured way of working with learners, and we've spoken about being learner-led earlier. But for some young people with special educational needs, structure can be quite helpful. So how do we implement structure in a learner-led environment? How does that work sometimes for some people?
I think that is it's going back to having the key worker or the member of staff having a sort of like a scheme of work, one for a better word, a plan for that term or maybe a few weeks, a project or something they're going to start to work on as well. But it's also the way they go around. Yes, it's learner-led, but it's the way they again, it goes back to their communication. So subtly, they may be influencing what the outcome might be. Yeah. So a bit like that laissez-faire approach when you're doing leadership as well. You sort of drip feed in what you'd like to do and let them make their mind up about that's what they want to do. So they see it as them taking responsibility for it as well. Yeah. So I guess it's around that approach. So subtly we're dropping why don't you try this? And again, it goes back to their communication, the way you say things to people as well, to get them to think it's their idea kind of thing. And I think that's what staff do really well. Yeah. As well. So yes, it is learner-led, but then obviously we still need to direct that.
Yes. And I guess it's structured within the day in the sense that they have their check-in, they have their lunchtime, they have their check-out. So.
Yeah. And if need be, there's time when they just have reflection time as well. And again, like I say, the staff can quite quickly pick up, even just meeting them at the car park, walking them to the site, they can quite quickly diagnose are they in a good space today or are they not? So we may need to change what we do and how we do it.
Schedule, amazing.
But also, like I say, it's learner-led, but we have got like various sort of schemes of work or plans which we'd like to try and follow. You can't have it like a school where you're definitely going to do this today, that tomorrow kind of thing, because everyone's different as well. Like you said earlier, the weather might change and affect what you do.
I was about to say that outdoor environment is a factor in itself, isn't it? That you've got to consider. Like we did a walk on Dartmoor a couple of weeks ago, and we planned out this 3-hour walk with all these points of interest, and then it snowed, and we didn't cancel it because it was safe to drive up there. But of course, we weren't going to manage to hit any of those objectives because actually the novelty of being on Dartmoor in the snow was but I was like, but that's the joy of working outdoors. So you kind of go with it and be like, all right, well, they're going to learn something else. And
which is
they're going to have a great experience. But,
so one of our learners on one of the sites the other week, they set up a little salt course.
Oh, nice.
Kind of thing, or a little obstacle course because they were getting cold. So they said do that, and then they did that, and then they started talking about how their body warms up, so they can use it as a tool. As well. So it's just little things like that. But like you said with the snow, it's just implementing what's happening on the day in it and changing it and tweaking it and using that to your advantage and using that as your teaching environment. I think that's why it's so nice that we are outside, because it changes all the time, the seasons and everything. So
it's always something new to discover and to explore. Absolutely. Just having a look at where we're going. As we work with schools and local authorities, I think probably all of our learners have got an educational healthcare plan, or at least a lot of them. And often for these EHCPs, it's you have to be able to measure your outcomes and make sure that needs have been met. So how do we take what is quite a fluid, unquantifiable process and make sure that we can show that it's meeting these goals within their EHCPs? Because that must be when EHCPs are written, I'm imagining that whoever writes them is writing them with a school in mind and not with, off playing in the woods. So how do we kind of make sure that we can identify that for the schools that we're meeting those needs?
It goes back to when we first have them as a referral. Usually their EHCP gets sent through, and then there'd be in there some specific goals or areas they would like them to work on, and then we would pick out through the site visit and the staff getting to know the learner, we'd start to pick out some key goals that we can start to work on, and then, like I say, daily, weekly, termly, we would then review those goals, and once we achieve them, we can then put a narrative about what they can do and how they can demonstrate that, and then we'd start working on the new goal. As well. I guess that's in a nutshell how we do it. How we do it. As well, and also just feedback from parents and schools.
And what they're saying.
What they're saying, or what the learners demonstrated this term, what they've done has been a big improvement, and then we can then look at actually, is what we're doing impacting that or helping, supporting that as well. So I guess that's one way we do it, unless they come in with definite, they've got to work on this, or it could be behaviour, it could be anything, as we know. But it's just reviewing it regularly as well.
And in terms of progress, like, is it easier to measure progress in this environment? Is it the same thing that you just kind of keep conversations going and...
I think, yes, you can measure it, but we're not like a tick box exercise. It's more... they've seen them demonstrate this as well, or the way they're communicating. I mean, some learners, when I first started, I couldn't go on site around that learner, but gradually I've been able to turn up, arrange a visit, and then they do have a little bit of communication with me, and then when you go away, the member of staff might say, well, they would have never have spoken to you if you'd come up 2 months ago. So they can start to see changes, improvements as well. Especially, I'm thinking of one of our learners, there's no way he liked anyone else coming on site as well, but
you just wanted it to be him and his one-to-one.
So when he's on site on a 2-to-1, occasionally I've turned up, and gradually, and then I've obviously sense checked, is it okay, and I've got the nod from the key workers that I can go in as well, and I fully understand that sometimes it's a case of no, disappear again, and away you go. But gradually now I started to come on site more as well, and he started to accept that as well, and he carries on doing whatever he's doing. He doesn't get influenced. So then they can start to see little changes in that as well.
Observe that progress. Amazing. And the schools and the local authorities that we work with, are they quite happy with the way that we kind of meet the needs? Like, they must be if they keep sending people back.
As far as I know, they are.
Brilliant.
Because it's meeting the needs, and it's giving them an alternative provision, as it says on the tin.
As it says on the tin. Oh, that was such a nice segue there, because I was just about to say that we mentioned in the introduction that we've recently undergone a rebrand, and we were previously known as the Transitional Learning Programme, but as I've mentioned earlier, we're now the Alternative Outdoor Provision. So can you explain why we felt a name change was necessary?
Yes, I think coming in, first of all, when you said TLP to me, I didn't really understand what it meant as well, working in the sector. So I think everyone refers to what we do, AP, alternative provision. It is alternative provision. And so I did quite a bit of research with various people, and we were looking at actually when you type in TLP, does it come up on a search engine? And it didn't. So you had to do quite a few clicks, and as we know, after 2 or 3 clicks, people
get bored.
So that was one of the reasons, but also I think we need to say what we do. And shout about what we do.
Name on the tin.
And as soon as you say AP or alternative provision, most people in the industry in the sector understand what it is. However, I'm also looking long term. I'd like to start to develop outdoor activities and use them as a mechanism as well to support learners as well. So that's an area we'd like to grow into, and we're starting to look now how we can link some of those outdoor activities for some of our learners as well to benefit from. So by putting that into the name as well, it's going to help us grow as well. And also in 18 months time, when we start implementing those types of activities, or when it is, we haven't got to change the name again. It's already out there.
It's already out there.
So it's getting established as well. And I think it's just, like I say, it does what it says.
It says on the tin, much clearer to know what it is. It's a bit like the outdoor school, like there's no second guessing what kind of school it is. It's a school outside.
And I think also with the wider community as well, AP, they know what it is, and we're recognised more as AP providers as well. So that's the main reason. Excellent. And you mentioned that a couple of times that we're in the process of designing kind of new provision. You just mentioned it again, that AOP is going to offer, and that's going to include, as you just said, the outdoor activities, but also nature-based play therapy and autism and mental health consultancy and some outreach work. So can you talk to us about these kind of new strands that you're looking into? So
I know you might not be able to give away too much.
No, I can't, top secret. No, but like I say, the outdoor is something that's my background and passion and I understand the benefits to some learners. It's not going to suit all learners. That's why when I spoke earlier about having creative arts and that kind of opportunity for some of our learners.
Yeah.
I think outdoor could be a good opportunity, and it can be, as you know, it can be used as many different tools, outdoor adventure as well, and it could be around the education, environmental, could be lots of different things. And to me, outdoor ed for our learners we work with, it might just be that someone sits in a canoe for 5 minutes, has a little float around and gets off again, but that's something massive for that learner, and gradually, eventually they might start to paddle and go around the lake and things like that. So it's just looking at that kind of stuff as well. And then also with us, when we can start linking in group work as well, maybe around that, maybe doing some walking, navigation as well. And then with the navigation, we can start looking at numeracy, so it starts to build a bigger picture as well. And then again, linking into environmental as well, and linking with the creative arts is that we can go off and take pictures and videos and do sketching and wildlife. So there's a whole, I think it all links. It's just looking at how we can link it into our provision more as well, and utilising different areas within our sites as well, or close by as well. So we've got the canal, we could utilise that as well. So maybe looking at some of our provision might move off-site a little bit.
It's going to be a lot of change then.
Yeah, in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
For the right, but again, it's not going to hit every learner. But for the right learner, we've got that opportunity to try it. If it doesn't work, then we can go and do something back in the woods. Yeah. So it just gives us more scope as well, and broadens our sort of like opportunities for students or learners. Sorry. The other stuff, the outreach, is we're going to start to develop, and that's going into schools and supporting schools. And some schools do have forest school settings, so we can start to utilise that. Or it might be that we do some work in schools and then we take the learners to our settings as well. So I guess with outreach is watch this space. Because we are going to look to work with schools a lot. That's the plan, to work with schools a lot more, and we go into schools, and that's where we can use our play therapy member staff as well, and doing the nature-based therapy as well. And then once they've got to a certain level, then we can introduce our AOP staff to go in as well and continue it.
Amazing.
As well. And then, like I say, that could be in the school, and then also out of that we can then support the school in growing their forest school provision as well through training. So we can link with Nick on the training side, and he can deliver the training as well, first aid. So and we can do consultancy, give them advice and guidance as well. So it's giving the school the whole package as well.
Amazing. And in terms of the nature-based play therapy, is that something that's already up and running, or in the cards?
No, play therapy is out there. It's all on the website. And that's run by SEMO, and we're looking to do nature-based play therapy, and also the consultancy linked into that as well. SEMO can do some CPD around for that for staff as well, which I know we've got on the cards next year now. The play therapy is out there, live and active.
And will you be running that from Exmouth? Because we did a podcast ages ago with, I can't remember if SEMO was on it, with a nature-based play therapist, and they were talking about how it was good to have like a kind of like a boundaried area within which to do the play therapies, so they kind of felt safe. Has he got like kind of a setup somewhere at one of the sites, or?
We are going to use any of the sites which is appropriate for that learner.
Okay.
But also we're looking that we can go into schools.
Oh, nice.
And what we're talking about is getting him set up with, if there's not an area in the school, we're talking about getting a pop-up gazebo with sides and stuff, so he can have his own place area as well. So we're looking to do that so he can be mobile.
Okay, great.
Yep, so we can do it mobile, but also through his initial consultations, it's actually this learner would be benefit from going to this site. So then we can go to sites if need be.
Do you feel like there's strengths and weaknesses to the different sites for different learners? Okay.
Exactly, and also we're currently working, so that's going on at the moment. I was going to say something like, can't give any more,
You were like, don't give any more away yet. No. We'll have to do another one in 6 months' time if there's more stuff to talk about. Is there anything else about AOP that we haven't covered that you thought you might want to mention?
No, I think a lot of it is just, we're open to diversify and develop what we can offer to our learners. Yes, our values and ethos is back to the woodland, but actually it's looking at how we can implement other things as well. So that's what we're talking about with the outdoor ed adventure as well, is where we can do that and how that can all link in as well. So no, it's just about growing our provision to open up more opportunities for other learners to which it might benefit.
Really exciting times.
Yes. Yeah, it is, and I think it is just linking with other people, other opportunities to provide different provision as well.
Sounds like you've really hit the ground running since you joined us. Because you've only been with us like 6 months, haven't you?
Yeah, Easter I started.
Yeah.
I thought we just started to get my feet under the table. It's all changing, but you
All
need
changing.
to be though. We need to be supporting the learners.
Yeah.
As well. There's no point saying, "Oh, we do that next year." You know, we need to start to be more reactive.
Yeah.
As well to support learners.
Yeah, particularly because there's a real mental health epidemic, isn't there, with kids and.
Yeah, I think what we've been through the last few years, and it's really coming to the forefront.
More and more kids needing support.
Yeah, and I think if we can look at that, so some of the other stuff we're looking to do is more supporting young ladies, girls with mental health problems as well, anxiety, anxious as well.
Oh, amazing.
So we're looking to do stuff around that. So it's just, again, it's very much talking to staff and where they see maybe there's an opportunity, we can then sit down as a team and go, can we support that opportunity and how can we grow it as well? And then also linking with the school, within the outdoor school, and with Nick with the home ed and the forest school training to see if we can support. And if need be, we can then retrain our staff and educate them in the right way and support them so they can start to capitalise and support that area of growth.
Amazing.
As well.
You talked about adolescent girls. You think about anything with like teen boys? Because whenever I talk to parents, they always say they feel like they wish there was something for like teenage boys.
Yes, again, it's stuff we're open to explore.
Yeah.
As well, but I guess it's also making sure we keep fundamental to our values.
Yes,
Also, again, like I say, if there's an opportunity, we can talk to the rest of the company and see if there's a way we can help support that area as well.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's always open, like I say, always open to new ideas as well. And it's a case of let's start looking at that new idea. If we don't think we can do it, how can we do it, or how could we support, or who could we pass it on to take that further as well.
Yeah, because I think that collaboration thing, like. I can't remember whether it was Tom or Chev, one of them kind of like coined this like collaboration, not competition, and I really
completely.
I really like that. It really sits well with me. Like, it's
no,
great
I completely agree.
Like, we can't do everything, but we can support other people to make sure that everything gets done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely. I think that's an area we want to support in, especially with training with Nick and the Royal School there as well. So I think definitely that's something we want to do. I think that's the way we can go and support, and it benefits the learners.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well. So I think with us there's lots of APs around Devon, which is great. And if we get a learner coming to us which we don't think we can meet needs, it's then how we signpost them to what a provision we think is more going to be more suited to them as well, because it's about the learner. Yeah,
they're the ones at the top of the priority list, aren't they? So,
yes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed it. For me, like, even though I've worked for the company for like 8 years, I think I've learned a bit more about the area of the business today. So
Good,
thanks so much. Really appreciate that.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for the time.
Before we finish up, the last thing that I always do is I ask everyone these last 3 questions because it's a nice way to end. I stole this from another podcast years ago. I did tell them that I stole it from them because I thought it was a good idea and they were fine with it. So my questions are: how do you relax? And I mean, you said just before we came on that you'd been delivering a first aid course for the RYA at the weekend. So I'm not sure how you are relaxing if you're. But so how do you relax?
I think it is just switching off, but I think personally for me, sometimes my relaxing is thinking about what we need to be doing next steps.
Okay.
As well, I find that quite therapeutic.
Okay.
I know that sounds a bit strange, but I find that quite relaxing.
Yeah.
As well, just thinking and visualising where I'd like to get us going as a team and a company as well. Other than that, over the summer and when the weather's nice, I like going out on my rib.
Nice.
And taking my children out and they go swimming and I do a little bit of fishing, but otherwise
amazing.
Just going out on that or a bit of dog walking.
Nice.
As well. I find that's what I like
really
relaxing.
Yeah. Excellent. And what are you reading or listening to right now? So it could be books, music, podcasts.
I'm nearly finished reading The Tools of Leadership.
Okay.
Which is about vision, inspiration and momentum, which at the moment we're going through the name change with AOP and what we're possibly doing in the future. That's key for me as well, to keep that momentum going. Yeah. As well for me and for the staff. I also like listening to the podcast, the high performance podcast.
Okay.
I've just listened to one on Joe Marler, the Harlequins rugby prop who's just retired. And that's around mental health as well. So it's quite interesting listening to that as well. And going back to what you were talking about earlier with young boys with mental health is how we can support. And I think there's something definitely to explore around that. Yeah, as
absolutely.
Well. I don't know what yet, but there's something.
Watch this space.
Yeah, I think there's something we need to look at as well. Whether it's just us going to schools and talking to learners or young boys and talking about how they can use the environment to benefit them, and make them feel better. It could just be that having a drink and a sit down and a chat. I think it's just making time. So again, that's something I want to explore. Yeah, as well. Absolutely. Yeah, because you've got lots of ones for men like Andy's Man Club and the shed or something is the men's shed, or
and in Totnes they've got Pizza Bros where Dough Bros, that's what it's called, where they meet up and eat pizza and do like men's mental health stuff. But so I think it's great, but I do wonder about that kind of 12 to 18 gap of boys where like I think what's out there for them. So.
I think that's key, and I think it's that stigma about it's not cool to talk about it. I think it's breaking down that
and trying to change that young before
that perception that actually I can't talk about that because I won't be seen as a man. So it's breaking down that stigma. I think that's key.
I think so
as well. So it's how we do that in a supportive way. As
absolutely. And finally, why is being outdoors important to you?
I think you hit the mental health. I think having done outdoor ed since the age of, even before when I was growing up with my family, and also from 16 plus, when I left school, I was straight into outdoor adventure, outdoor education. I can see the benefits to myself, but also to young people of all ages, all abilities as well. And I just see the benefit of it as well. And I think that's really important.
Amazing. Brilliant.
As well.
Thanks so much for your time, Nigel.
No, thank you. It's enjoyable. Brilliant.
A big thank you to Nigel for coming to talk to us about our alternative outdoor provision. I thought that was really informative, and it was really helpful just to unpack exactly what this area of our business does for people that might be curious. So I hope that you found that interesting, and if you enjoyed the podcast episode, as always, please do like the podcast, rate it, subscribe to it, share it with your friends, do all the things that means that more people will find us. We'll be back in a fortnight with another episode, but until then, thanks for listening.